This channel is usually all about watercolour. It's my passion. But hey, it's my channel, so I'm allowed to do different things too. And today I wanted to show you how to change some very ordinary white canvas sneakers into, ta-da, sneakers that are customised. So hopefully you can see the ladybirds, I think Americans call them ladybugs, on there. And on this one, I've just done dots. My name's Liz Chatterton. I'm a watercolour artist based in Berkshire. Every week I share a tip or trick that I wish I'd known about ages ago. But this week I'm going off-piste a little. I'm going to show you how to transform sneakers. This project came about because I bought some acrylic markers. Oh, that's a bit shiny. From a hoo-hoo. I thought, oh, how can I use these besides just highlights and things in mixed media work? And I thought, oh, I wonder if you could actually draw on sneakers. I'm very fond of a sneaker or two. And the more I thought about it, the less I thought it would work if you want them to last. I reckon acrylic paint will just sort of peel off and crack. But then, because you can, I poked around on the internet and found that there are products that you can add to acrylic paints to turn them into fabric paints. And I thought, oh, that'll work. And I can use the markers just for detail and highlights, but the main body of the painting, I can use this as fabric paint. So I did. And I think they've worked out really well. I'm very tempted to go and buy about 20 more pairs and do all sorts. And just as a testament to the fact that they've worked out well, I showed them to my husband and he said, oh, you could do me a pair of high tops. Now, usually he looks at my projects and goes, oh, that's lovely, dear. And that's it. So this is praise indeed. Let's get into it. Right, what do we need for this project? Obviously, a pair of canvas shoes, which we'll prepare in a moment. Some tape, which we'll use to protect the sole. Some acrylic paints. They do not have to be brilliant quality. They just need to be in the colours you want. Maybe some acrylic markers for detailing. A brush, a pot to mix up your paint in. And you need something that will transform your acrylic paint into fabric paint. If you just put acrylic paint straight onto your canvas shoes, it's going to crack and peel off within a few wears, I would suggest. You might find it lasts a bit longer, but you can get additives that you put into your acrylic paint and then it makes it into fabric paint. So this is from Golden. It's called GAC 900 and I have no idea what their marketing department was thinking when they called it that. The alternative you can get from Angelus, which is called Too Soft, and it's to turn acrylic paints into paints that can be used on canvas shoes. Let me tell you, this is £16.25 in the UK, and the Angelus one I saw for £9.95, but it was half the size. So give or take, they're a similar price. However, as I was just checking the prices, I came across Art Studio fabric media, and that's 500 millilitres, so that's a pint, for £4.99. You get that from the range. Might be worth checking out. Haven't used it, but it's basically a fabric medium is what you're looking for. It needs heat setting, as does the Angelus. Alternative, of course, is to use fabric paints. Something like Jacquard makes a really good range of fabric paints. But if you're an artist and you happen to have lots of acrylics lying around, then maybe using a medium to turn those into fabric paints is a good idea. Of course, you need some brushes. First thing is to prep your shoe, and you need to remove the lace. Now, I got these shoes from Shoe Zone and they were £4.99. Goes without saying, don't lose the laces. If I were you, I would stuff the shoe with newspaper or scrunched up plastic bags, just to give you a slightly firmer surface to work on. The other thing I would do is tape off the edge of the rubber sole and the rubber toe cap, just to keep those clean. Some masking tape, it's painter's tape, so that's what I'm going to use. You could use electrical tape, washi, whatever you've got. carefully need to break off quite short pieces to go around the curves. Now we need to prepare the paint, and it's really simple. It's 1 part of acrylic paint to 1 part of the medium. It's a heat set medium, so it does give instructions about ironing it for 3 to 5 minutes, or using a heat press for 1 to 2 minutes, or a clothes dryer for 30 to 40 minutes on high. I can't iron these shoes, so I will use a hair dryer on this. There is a warning that this has got formaldehyde in it, so be careful, particularly when you're heating it. Make sure you've got really good ventilation. Swidge of the paint in there and an equal part of the medium, and then you need to mix it up really well. Now, here is one I've already started, and that's as far as I've got. And so this is 1 coat of the paint. In a few places, like here and here, it looks a bit dull. So I'm going to do a 2nd coat on that. But I am pleasantly surprised by how bright the colour has come out. And it is just a case of brushing it on, making sure you get it into the weave of the canvas. I've decided to leave the edges white as part of the design, and I'm careful as I go round the eyelets. If I get it on the metal, it doesn't matter, because, well, it'll be hidden by the laces and it just wipes straight off the metal. But the less cleanup I have to do, the better. I'm being relatively generous putting on the paint because I do want it to soak in. And even though I've got the tape in place, I'm just going to go careful around the edges, because it does seem to feather a little through the material, so it goes a little bit further than where you put it. Seems to dry pretty quickly. This is what I did before, and you can see that the canvas stays flexible and soft, which I guess is what the medium is all about. There won't be any cracking there. Start with a 2nd layer, particularly paying attention to the areas that were a bit pale. If you wanted this to be a really cherry red, I guess you could have done an undercoat of, say, yellow and then a red coat on top. So I did use the hairdryer on this last night on the 1st coat, and I think it would be a wise precaution to heat it in between coats, especially because I'm using a hairdryer which I'm not sure is going to be the highest temperature in the world. 2nd coat seems to be really sorting that out. Now I need to do exactly the same on this one. Got a pair of red and white shoes. I'm going to take the tape off and just see how the edges are looking, and maybe touch them up if I need to. Okay, actually not too bad. There's a few bits that I might want to touch up, but I'm just going to get that off there. Now it's time to do the heating. I'm using a hairdryer, and I'm going to heat this all over for 2 to 3 minutes. My plan is to do black dots on the left one and ladybirds on the right. So I've got a stencil, circle stencil, and I'm going to do random black dots on here. I'm going to use these acrylic markers. So I've got a black one there, both to do the legs of the ladybird and little details, but to also do the outlines of the black dots to get them as neat as possible. So acrylic markers, if you haven't used them, you just give a jolly good shake. These ones are from a Hoo-Hoo, and they have a very thick end. It's a new one, and a thin end. Pump them up and down until the paint flows. Might as well do both ends. Can take a while, especially on the thick ends. I reckon it takes about 20 pumps. I want some of them sort of half and just sort of random. I'm going to start on the tongue, simply if it goes wrong, at least it'll be hidden. So I'm keeping it as flat as possible. Not quite as good as I'd like, so let's touch that up. And then I'm going to fill in the middle with some black paint. I'm doing a 1-to-1 mix. I'm going to use a small pointed brush because I want this to be perfect. I think this will need a couple of coats to get a really good solid black on it. So the reason I did the edge was I've noticed that the fabric paint does feather a bit through the canvas, so if you want to get a really sharp line, then you've got to go careful. If you're making a pair of shoes just for a festival or a party and you want to, I don't know, do stripes and spots and things, then I think you would be fine just using acrylic markers straight on the shoes. I'm trying to do this as properly as possible so that they last. I want to actually wear these and be able to not think, oh, it's going to rain today, I better not wear them because I'm going to get red socks. One down, lots to go. So that's layer 1 of the black dots. So if I bring it up, you can see the little of the red is showing through, so they look a bit brown. I'm definitely going to do another layer of the black on there. But just before I do the second layer, I'm going to hairdryer again. I have my reference and I need to think about placement. If these were Vans and they didn't have the toe cap, we'd have a lot more sort of space to play with our design, but we've got this toe cap and I don't think anything would actually stick to it. You could do a temporary design, I reckon, with your acrylic markers, but I'm pretty sure they would peel off after a while. Bit nervous, to be honest. Yeah, maybe I'll have it come peeping out. So I want some of its red shell showing. I really want to get the shine on its shell, so I need to mix up some other colours. I've got some black left over. I've got my black marker. I've got a white marker. I've got some of my red left over. And I need some yellow and some white mixed up. And I'm not sure yet whether I might want to put some blue around the highlights, but I'll just have that out in case. Again, I'm going to go with my marker. And get the approximate shape on. Interesting to see how much we can actually blend. If you don't have a particularly steady hand, you might want to put more of the tape back on. But hopefully I have. So I'm putting some black at the sides. I'm going to blend that in, putting some yellow. We need some shine. Let that dry and then come back with white and black to put the legs in. We could potentially put the legs in now, actually, couldn't we? So we've got the leg comes up here. And then we've got the longer bit. And then we've got the little foot. And this leg is going to sort of disappear off under here, so that's all we need to do. Nice googly eyes. With the pen. I'm going to try and do as much as possible with the fabric paint rather than with the markers, but to say I think the detail is all going to have to go in with markers, and I think that should be okay. Let that dry, and then we've got the bigger one round here. Just getting it all in roughly, to be honest. I'm just slowly blending the colours. I'm going to try and make it look shiny with some white highlights and so forth in a moment when this is dry, and I can layer that on. Get some highlight on this shell so it can be sort of soft. Starting to come on. I actually think it would be nice, I'm going to slightly change my mind, to have a head coming down here. So this is how it looks at the moment after that first layer, and I'm quite pleased actually how it's going. It's famous last words, isn't it? So I am going to get the leg of this one in, because that really helps. And then it's going to be the sort of all-important dots and just tidying things up. And with the markers, they don't dry immediately, so if you need to blend something, you can just use a little bit of water to blend it out. And then I'm going to put on its sort of markings that it has on its face. I'm going to put little highlights on its antennae as well. And then I'm going to put highlights on its eyes, and I'm going to blend those ones out with a little brush. Then we've got white dots on its shoulders that are sort of quite jagged. Little highlights here. Just gives a nice sort of shine to the thing. Then they've got white dots there. Again, I'm going to blend those out a bit. And then we've got the all-important black dots. So where are we going to put those? So we've got this mark, and they're not totally round. This one just be showing, oops, need to be careful of that edge. And there's another little one over here. And the equivalent would be about there. And that's all the dot action that would show on there, apart from this marking it has here. Just a little nuance onto its legs. And that'd be number 1. Here. So I think that's the second one, and then we go on to this one. Right, final one, the big one on the side. So really now is just the finishing touches until you're happy with how everything's looking. Just get that white there. Once you're happy with your designs, it's a case of making sure everything is dry and then heat setting them to the best you can. I've then got some protector that I'll put on. We can lace them up and see what they look like. These are dry and I've heat set them as much as possible. I've also used a white pen just on a couple of places, like here, just where it had gone on to the marking. I don't think it really matters. And then I got hold of this. So it's shoe protector, powerful invisible protection against rain and stains. And I thought, given that I have gone to all this effort, perhaps it will be an extra layer of protection. So all I have to do is spray and then let it dry fully before I wear them. You don't have to do this, but I think if you've been to all this effort, it probably is worth it. I have seen people coat them with wax and then sort of melt the wax on. Someone else coated theirs with a layer of glue that dried clear. Kind of think that's a bit odd for footwear. Seems like a recipe for smelly feet, but if that's what you've got, that's what you've got. Now just to pop the laces back in. There we are. A customised pair of canvas sneakers transformed, and I'm really looking forward to wearing those.